Today we are working in partnership not only with UK Resin Prints, the home of high-quality resin 3D printing in the UK, but also with Alessio Cavatore, in celebration of his work on Mantic Games' upcoming tabletop role-playing game, Ghost in the Shell. Follow early to get cool merch, including a free bookmark and sample rules immediately just by following, or hardback dust jackets and PDF rules if you reserve or back the game so you can get to playing as soon as possible. Find links to both of our sponsors and partners in the description of the video down below. Hello Legionaries and welcome to the Command Tent. I'm your host today, Lander, and I'm joined by my co-host Ian, and we are both amazed to be joined by the star of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Alessio Cavatore himself. You may know him for some lesser items like My Little Pony Equestria Adventures and a few other games. Alessio, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That's funny. Yes, a great part in the movie, The Return of the King. Yes, the
Yep.
major part, I would say. Yep.
Make and break, really, you know.
Well, for a few people that still haven't heard the story, I play a dead rider of Rohan, which you can see for about a second. That's my part.
It's more than I've got in any film.
Yeah, it's you're part of it. That's still really cool, though, isn't it?
It was a great experience.
So, if you don't mind, just let's introduce you to people who are newer to the scene and don't necessarily know who you are. Give us a brief overview of your history in the gaming space.
Sure.
Yeah.
I basically moved to the UK in 1996, after winning the Italian Warhammer tournament, which got me a job with Games Workshop as a translator that year. So I moved over, started translating for about a year, and then moved to the design studio as an assistant game developer. So I worked on Warhammer, some supplements first, and then on 40K, until I actually got to write all the main systems. I wrote I think it was 5th edition 40K, 7th edition Warhammer main rulebooks, and then got given Lord of the Rings, which was amazing. So it's quite a few years of Lord of the Rings. So 15 years of Games Workshop, writing all sorts of things. And then parted ways with Games Workshop in 2010, founded Riverhorse, which was my own company with some friends. We made board games, card games, role-play games, miniature games, all sorts of games, some under license, some not under license, and ran that company for 14 years until 2024. In 2024, by the way, while I was working, while I had my own company, I also did services for other companies, notably Warlord Games, for which I've written Bolt Action, and Mantic, which I started by writing Kings of War, and then we did, through the years, we worked on many things together. In 2024, I sold my company to Mantic, and now I'm a freelance, free agent, mercenary, consultant, whatever you want to call it. And I'm currently still working with Warlord on many Bolt Action things, still working with Mantic on many things, because obviously they bought my company, so they inherited the Labyrinth, but more importantly, the Ghost in the Shell license, which is the hot potato at the moment.
Excellent. Well, let's have a quick chat through about what's been going on in all of our respective hobbies. I'll take the first step. You may have written Bolt Action. I, as has been alluded to in earlier podcasts, have the square root of chuffle knowledge about modern warfare. And so the main thing that really would get me into a game is giving it an extra little sci-fi or fantasy twist. And so I've been doing some Conflict 47 with the new British release the other week. I've been buying some of the new plastic heavy weapon Mark 1 robot guys, and
Cool.
building up some of the nice resin Galahad infantry. So I'm looking forward to getting those on the table and painting them all up in like household cavalry colors. So they're all sort of blues and whites and very overdressed for diesel punk warfare.
Right.
Otherwise, I've been working on some of my skeletons and undead for a old world video that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks' time. And I've fallen down a rabbit hole with a friend on World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King. So That's why I only finished editing this week's video today when it should have been done last Monday.
Right.
So,
World of Warcraft. Wow, is it still going?
yes, just not on, not strictly speaking, on Wrath of the Lich King. You've got to have a less than legal version to do that. Not that I would obviously ever, have a less than legal version. Moving on. Ian, you have also been a slave to the painting station.
Yeah, because you sent me a message after the new Old World reveal saying, would it be fun to do some Cathay on the channel? So I've been rapidly trying to get my army actually painted since building most of them. I'm loving the new army. Well, they're not new anymore, but the speed paint markers by Army Painter. I managed to invest in a load of them, and actually they're really good fun to use. So it's made the painting not too bad for that. I'm also working on a Finnish army for bolt action, because it's probably the system I play the most at the moment, and I don't shut up about it. So I've got a nice little snug there with some hawthorn from my garden to simulate logs, because they didn't use the shirts and in the snow. They used wood instead, which is really a nice, interesting historical touch. And then conflict, just like yourself.
Yep. So will that be a Sturmi? Speaking.
Yeah, technically, yeah, it will be. It's a lot of fun. I have too many bolt action armies, but the Finnish is something that I've wanted to do for a while, and got some good 3D prints, got some of the Warlords German winter infantry, and some of the tanks. And I've just had a real blast cutting out Russian weaponry, putting the Russian weaponry on them, and just having a great time building up this really nice continuation war Finnish army, which I'm hoping to get painted by the end of the year, knowing me.
I totally agree with the Finns. I mean, in my opinion, they were the only good guys on the Axis side. So
yeah. Well, I have an early war French. I have various different stages of Italians and a British army as well. So yeah, I'm invested deep in bolt action.
It's normally the Italians you go on at length about.
I have a lot of fun playing the Italians. I can't complain.
Well, Alessio, I'm afraid you're going to put us to shame, because it seems you've got a much more well-rounded hobby if we move over. I mean, there's green and the outdoor world in one of these photographs. You're a golfer then?
I started about a year and a half ago, so I'm in the phase of high frustration, but I love it. I love it because I found a sport that I can do in my 50s without breaking my back.
Yep.
And it gets you out, because otherwise it will be my other, I suppose, I'll be at home on this computer playing computer games, like or connected with my friends playing D&D online with my Italian friends or my British friends. So, yeah, no, it gets you out, fresh air, lots of steps walking out, and it's an interesting challenge. So no, I'm glad I started, and that was actually Ronnie Renton, the owner of Mantic Games, that got me the bug, infected me.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, my last experience with golf, and it's going to show my silver spoon. It was doing golf as a sports option in secondary school, and then being immediately kicked off of it because I couldn't swing a club without taking chunks out the fairway. So, I definitely enjoyed golf when I played it with my dad, and I'm utterly awful at crazy golf. Maybe it's one of those things I need to get onto again. There's actually, an odd number of my friends are actually doing golf now. There's a guy I used to work with over in Hull, and then there's my wife's best friend's fiance now, who is he works as a farrier, but he started doing golfing and watching his stock market assets grow on through crypto bro stuff or something. I don't fully understand it, but whatever. He's enjoying himself. So do you recommend it? Should I try golf again?
I would recommend it if you want a relaxed sport that is about focus and it works for me. Obviously, it's not for everybody. I understand. Some people find it boring, I guess. But no, I loved it. I love it, and I hope I get a bit better. I'm trying.
Let's move counterclockwise around your photos then. Starting with the golf, we've done that now. The photo in the top right.
Yes.
People familiar with the industry will realize that that's a table of dynamos, of, real leaders of industry. Who's around that table? What's actually going on there?
Right. So that's what we call the Codgers Club.
Okay.
So we refer to ourselves as Codgers because we are old and half retired and having more spare time during the week. And so occasionally we meet during the week to play very, very old board games. That may be maybe new editions of old board games, or indeed sometimes the actual very, very old board games in the original edition. So what's happening there is that's Kingmaker. This is not the original version of Kingmaker. It's a remake that's been made a few years ago, but the game is very old. It's about the War of the Roses.
Okay.
Around the table, you see anti-clockwise after me. There's Rick Priestley there, which is the guru. I would say my sensei, a guy that I've learned everything I know about war games from, and
Okay.
I'm glad to say we became friends through the years, working on many, many things together. And yeah, we play games now. I mean, Rick is a legend in the
Yeah.
industry. He was there at the start of Games Workshop. He wrote all the original stuff. So he's a titan.
I won't
I'm
lie to
standing
you.
on the shoulders of a giant, which is funny because I am twice his size.
Yes. I won't lie to you. When you sent me that photo through, I was just like, okay, here's a list of people whose phone numbers I need to ask for.
Right. Next up is Jerry Johnson. Jerry Johnson, so the author of Blood Bowl, the guy that wrote Blood Bowl and many other things and games for Games Workshop through the years. Only just recently retired from Games Workshop after I don't know how long, 40 years career in Games Workshop, where he's done a bit of everything. But yeah, it is, I would say, his most famous thing is definitely Blood Bowl. I would say also my favorite game that he's done.
Yeah,
In Games Workshop.
it's
So,
great.
and I refer to Jervis as my senpai. If Rick is my sensei, he's my senpai, so he's my senior colleague. And then on the
Laboltrican.
continuing on, those two strange characters are the Perry twins. So Alan and Michael Perry of Perry Miniatures and formerly Games Workshop. That basically, unlike Rick and Jervis and me, we're game designers. But the Perrys are like our guests. Occasionally come over and just inject their madness into things. And being that they're brothers and twin brothers, we can always rely on them fighting each other to death, and so
Excellent.
they cannot cooperate. So that's something that is
interesting,
very, sibling rivalries, and all of that.
Just to jump in with a real quick question, because you said you've got this real love for board games, which is great. Because I always want to ask, someone who's in like a design space, when you're playing these old board games, do you find yourself able to switch off, or do you look and go, "Oh, I'd have done this differently," or "Oh, I would have, I'd change this."
It's easier if it's something I haven't worked on. If it's something I've worked on, definitely is almost impossible to not think about the process and how you would do it again. But if it's something done by somebody else, now I think yes, you play enough that you can say, "Look, I'm just having fun. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to be professional. I'm just trying to enjoy it for what it is." And sometimes some games I think that are very good. Some games I think they're not great, but it doesn't matter. Is the spirit and the people you're with really that can make it work. Like in this case, we absolutely had a whale of a time. It was really funny. I don't know if we got all the rules right. I don't think it matters, and there was an element of role playing in it, and I'm sure we must have got some things wrong, but it doesn't matter because it's not a competitive environment. It's just a fun thing.
It's the magic of board games, isn't it? It's that bringing people together and that social contract between people of just having a good time. Yeah, it's
Sometimes.
great.
Yes, most of the time.
Occasionally. Rarely.
What would you?
Okay. Perhaps.
Fair enough. Right.
So yeah, I was going to say. So moving on, we've got the Ghost in the Shell role-playing games and miniatures.
Yeah, that's not really a hobby. That's work, but it's also a hobby in the sense that I love role playing and playtesting.
Yeah.
It was fun. So we had a lot of fun playtesting that and developing it, and obviously we're all very excited about bringing it to market. And this has been developed with a few people that you do know, I'm pretty sure.
I think I know everyone around that table.
You do.
Yep.
Yep. That bunch of reprobates. Yep. Yes,
there's a chap who fed me a roast dinner against my will. There's a man who employed me against my will. There's you. There's a guy who is making me play World of Warcraft against my will. And is that Chris C? On the left there?
What? On the left?
On the
No,
bottom? No. And
Chris
that's
Hughes
man.
is the one. Chris Hughes really with the.
I can see Chris Hughes in the foreground. Who's that on his left? Can't make that out.
That's Sam Charlton.
Don't know Sam then.
Yeah, so you don't know one of the best GMs on this planet. It is amazing.
Second to myself alone, I'm sure you agree. After the one game of enormous D&D I skived DMing for.
Well, and obviously there you don't get to appreciate your more kind of precise skills for a single group, for a single session. But Sam is really good. He's really good. And we were filming. I mean, that photo has been taken where we were filming some actual play.
Yep.
So you'll be able to watch us being stupid and doing Ghost in the Shell stuff on camera as soon as
that's awesome.
Yeah, as soon as Mantic publishes those videos,
okay. So you don't know when they're coming out?
I'm pretty sure either just before the campaign or during the campaign. And campaign is
awesome.
28th of July.
Okay.
Fairly soon.
So towards the end of the month then. Excellent.
Yeah, I know quite a few people who are already interested, to say the least. My brother and a lot of his mates who are huge Ghost in the Shell fans are very, very excited for it, even though they're not actually huge tabletop role players. But it's something that might be the thing that entices them in, which is, I think, really cool.
Well, it's the kind of book that probably even if you don't play, it's just a nice thing to own and read through. Hopefully, it makes a nice reading because I mean it's so full of illustration that it's almost like reading the manga again.
It's awesome. It's really cool.
Do we have to read the rule book from right to left or left to right?
No, we didn't go that far.
No. That's a missed opportunity.
Well, it would have been complicated to lay out, I think. Yeah, no. We didn't push ourselves that hard. No.
Understandable. Well, so Ghost in the Shell, how long have you been working on that for? You said that Mantic inherited that, and it was 24 that they bought you out?
Yes, the license was acquired in 23.
Okay,
I believe, and we announced that we were going to release the game in 24 or launch the game in 24. But then, of course, instead of doing that, I entered the old complicated process of filing a company, transferring licenses. There's a lot of, as you can imagine, there's a lot of legalese that needs to be done for the stuff to happen. So in the end, basically, we finished it off in 25, ready for it to be released now.
So, having gone through all of that effort, was it worth that selling the company, or should you have held on to it?
Oh, we'll never know that, do we?
You don't have to answer that. Mantic wants to keep working. You want to keep working with Mantic, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's the classic thing, who knows? I mean, of course, if I kept the thing, I would have had to work a lot harder, take all the risk, more importantly.
Yeah.
I think that the thing is, you're taking all the risk on yourself, which makes it nerve-wracking. I find it already nerve-wracking, even if I'm not taking the risk, because it's not my company, but I still find it stressful. So imagine the reason why I sold the company is that I tend to be a warrior. I always go a catastrophist. So I'm not cut up to be an entrepreneur, basically. And it took me 14 years to realize that. So I ran a company again.
I was saying that's completely fair, to be honest. Like, recognizing your own strengths is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, not realizing that. Yeah, I really not. No, basically, I worry too much.
Yeah.
So,
did you find the source material lend itself quite nicely to a tabletop RPG, or did you have to, put a lot of work into getting the feel into the world, or did it kind of just lend itself to it?
Not at all. I think it was amazingly smooth in that sense. I think it has such a rich tapestry of of cool stuff that you can adapt using the rules, and it's such action driven, so and investigation and character development, a lot of development, personality and anxieties, and and psychological development. So no, I thought it was there's even too much. It's like, oh my god, I need to write 6 books, not one. If anything, it's difficult to condense it all in one book.
Is that a tacit advertisement of later source books coming out, expansions?
Those books are being written, yes, by some of those people in that very picture as well.
Excellent. So, for people who aren't fully aware of Ghost in the Shell and aren't fully aware of, or haven't looked into, I don't know what is out at the minute for what's the mechanics of the book, of the game itself, give us a quick overview of what Ghost in the Shell is, why should people be interested, and then is it like a D20 system, 2D6 system, D100? What's the general core idea or vibe of the game?
So first the IP and then the game, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So the IP is a cyberpunk IP. I would probably say is the cyberpunk IP. That is because it was released in 1989 in Japan.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was groundbreaking. It was really in a world where you're barely starting to have computers and phones and remote. I don't know. Did we have mobile phones at 99? I'm not sure.
I'm afraid that's like 7 years before my birth.
Right.
So I don't recall.
It was a very. I mean, I read the comic in '92 when he first was released in Italy. And it was serialized. It took every month a new episode. I was super excited. And so basically, anyway, going back to what it is, it's a cyberpunk story. It's about the main character is the Major Motoko Kusanagi, who is an agent in Section 9. So she actually founds the Section 9, which is a secret government agency that basically officially deals with is an anti-terrorist unit. In reality, is more of a extreme sanction that because they answer only to the prime minister, that the prime minister can deploy if corrupt politicians are doing something illegal. They get taken out. So stuff happens to them. So it's a very, again, there is a lot of also not only on the psychological development of the characters, but also on the rights and wrongs of doing something like that, on the morality of it, and the characters often struggle with the morality of that.
So it's a pretty not standard, but like I've completely lost the word I'm going to say. It is quintessential of your sort of authoritarianism and transhumanism style stories. Very sort of.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, it's not an authoritarian regime; it's a democracy. But yes, there are some undertones that yes, the the methods used are not too far from those of an authoritarian regime, indeed.
And I would say
a little more subtle.
Sorry. I was going to say one of the things that really sets it apart, even to this day, is just it's very visually distinct. It always has been. Like you can recognize stills from both the manga and the anime really clearly, and you go, "Yeah, that's Ghost in the Shell." It's got its own very uniqueness to it, which is brilliant.
Yes, and some of the things that were introduced in the comic have become almost staples of science fiction, and I mean things like the spider tanks. Shiro is he's almost created the whole genre, and a lot of his stuff is being reused in a lot of different films we've seen, like The Matrix and all of that. So it's very, I would say, the word seminal of the genre, and
absolutely.
You said quintessential again. That kind of work is one of the big works that almost create a new genre. So yeah, I'm so glad to be able to work on this. And bizarrely, by coincidence, there is this new anime on Prime now, which is The Ghost in the Shell, and they have literally, pretty unbeknownst to us, they've literally taken this new anime is literally the manga animated. It's literally they're going through the manga and animating it, which is fantastic. I waited 35 years to see that. It was just, I'm so happy.
And it's also getting amazing reviews as well at the moment, which is really good. So
Yeah, it's getting very good reviews, and particularly the people that like the manga love the anime, and the quality of the anime is fantastic. People that don't know Ghost in the Shell love the anime. The only critiques I've seen is from people that have have learned about first digested Lord of, sorry, Lord of the Rings, no, Ghost in the Shell through some of the other renditions that were done later through the years. Like the standalone complex anime or the long full length movie, the Mamorushi one. So people have seen those, and those are more serious,
Yeah.
are more dark. The Major was always like a angsty, kind of very old character,
Yeah.
while people that have seen that first now see the comic were actually super colorful, super energetic, funny, sexy. It is, the tone is so different, and those people are going, "Oh well, this was it is a comedy," yeah, and a lot of other people just go, you didn't read the manga, did you?" This is
it's
actually the actual thing, the real thing.
I was
think-
also going to say it's being made by Science Saru, which are the studio that did Sander, Dan to Dan, loads of other like modern
wow.
beloved
Okay.
anime classics, which are praised for their visual style. So that experience is clearly feeding into it really well as well.
It is.
I've definitely got
Certainly.
to put that on the watch list for Georgie and I later. Well,
You must.
let's pivot then from the IP to what you made. Why should people play this specific game? What are the mechanics that are going to make it a good game to play?
Okay, so it's first of all, it's very simple. I didn't want to make a. This is my philosophy for all games, not just this. I always try to boil it down to the minimum, most simple thing I can do, because I always say that kind of stuff is difficult. It's really difficult to go simple. Writing huge amounts of stuff is easy, because then people will have to make it work. It doesn't really work, but people fudge it and make it work if they want to, or have arguments, or spend a lot of time trying to work out how to do things. I don't know. For me, D&D recently has become a bit like that. There's so many rules, so many things, so many. So I've gone right. I want something very, very simple, where the rules are there, but there's a lot of freedom of changing stuff on the fly. Is more about the character, the fun, and you will see that in actual play. So to go a bit more technical about the system, so a very small system in terms of quantity of rules. It doesn't have classes, but characters are defined by traits and by skills. So you pick your traits, and your traits are divided into Ghost, Shell, and Cyber Brain. Ghost being your soul, which is a mix of awareness and charisma, and aura. And while your we call it presence, that's the word. So awareness and presence. While the body, the shell, effectively has muscle and speed, effectively agility. Again, I forget the term. The reflexes, that's the one. Then the cyber brain is divided into the attacking mode, the hacking skill, and the barrier, which is your internal hero. Masamune Shiro being the author of Ghost in the Shell. He's got your defensive, your firewalls. Stuff.
Okay.
So those are your traits, but then you have your skills, and the skills allow you to build a character. So you want to build a sniper, obviously you go, I'll take maximum skills on rifles, and I get some stealth, and so you basically build your skill the way you want to, and create the stereotype that you were going for. Like, I want to be a medic, I want to be a hacker, I want to be a policeman, I want to be an investigator, I want to be a soldier, ex-soldier, ex-military. So you decide what you want to do when you build it. You have to assign, as well as skills, also a setback, or maybe two, so to give it more character, and that's your core character design. The system is based on all the RPG dice, so from the D4 to the D20.
Okay.
It's basically the very core of it mechanically is you assign a difficulty to a task you're trying to do, to something you're trying to do, whether that's hitting somebody with a shot from a pistol or jumping off a motorbike onto I don't know, something else.
Yep.
So whatever you're doing, the GM assigns a difficulty. say 4 would be your normal standard difficulty, but it varies and there's modifiers, take into account, fast moving target, cover, and all of that.
Okay.
But basically, once the difficulty has been assigned, then you roll a number of dice, a number of polyhedral dice, and any skill that applies, all your skill, your traits are all rated in a dice. So
Okay.
if you're a basic human without any training, you're on D4s. You roll D4s to do things.
Okay.
If you are trained, say a well-trained policeman, something like this, you're on D6s. If you're a kind of a hero level guy, really good, then you are onto D8. If you can access the D10 and the D12 only through cybernetics, so
Okay.
you will have to have some augmentation to get to the D10 and the D12, and then there's a big gap between the D12 and the D20,
Yes,
and
one would expect.
that is actually I always say is always a good way of explaining something that is actually explained in the comic. There is a bit in the comic where one of the characters is explaining that you could have a very strong cybernetic arm, an arm that would be theoretically strong enough to lift a car. However, if that arm is implanted in your flesh and bone shoulder, and you try to lift the car,
That's the
guess
weak
what?
point.
Guess what? Your
Yeah.
arm will come off your
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
So basically, that's why the D10 and the D20 are the maximum. So yes, I can punch you with my cyber arm is more powerful than my not augmented arm, but it's still in the realm of the D10, D12s.
Okay.
The only way to go D20, and again, the comic explains it very well, is if you have a full body cyborg. So if the only part of you that is human is your brain, your spinal cord, effectively, but everything else is a cyborg body, then your arm is implanted in a titanium endoskeleton that actually can take the weight of a car, and therefore you can lift the car.
Yeah,
So
it's no longer your body picking the car up; it's the robot you're piloting picking up the car.
exactly.
Yeah.
And therefore you can lift the car, and therefore you can use the D20. That's the big jump from 8 steps from the D12 to the D20. So I thought that was capturing that quite well.
I was just saying, I really like that because it's really thematic, but also like just looking at the vein of explaining this to a new player. That's so accessible as well. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not good at this. It's the small dice, and as I get better, I get the bigger dice. And for like someone new to tabletop RPGs in general, I find that's actually a really interesting way to get them in because it's very clear how everything grows because the number on your dice is growing with you.
Yeah, and we color code dice as well in other systems. So but basically, yeah, it's a relatively simple system. The thing is, if you have more skills that apply to a test, so you normally you will always use your applicable trait. The trait always apply. You pick the trait that applies and roll that dice. But if you have a skill as well, then you roll the dice of the skill as well as the dice of the trait. And any other things that you can think that apply, you can get to roll the dice. You roll all these dice, and you always pick the highest result. You don't add anything. There's no math. You just go, I roll a D4 and a D6 and a D8 because of this skill and that skill and this one. They all apply to this test, and you just pick the highest result. Also, if you roll the highest result on any dice, that dice explodes, so you get to roll the next dice, the next bigger dice. So a D4,
that's really
if you roll
cool.
a 4, gets into a D6. If you roll a 6, then you get to roll the D8. So in theory, you could, on a total fluke, end up rolling a D20. Is when you've thrown a stone and it's just hit the eye of the guy over there. It's like,
so the obvious route
really
for
cool.
The obvious route for your next source book is going to be your D20s explode into a D36 and get people buying the irregular polyhedrals, right?
No, we only do platonic solids. I'm sorry. No.
I love that. I just think, like, again, that's just a really fun system. You talked earlier about, board games, you make narratives at the table and you're having fun, but that's better than just going, oh yeah, I rolled a D20, I get to double my damage. It's like, no, I get to roll the next dice. That's really cool. Like, for any tabletop player, that's just a really fun thing.
If you watch the actual play, it was almost embarrassing because we had a few episodes where indeed, somebody, I don't know, Andy rolls a D6, rolls a 6, then rolls a D8 and rolls an 8. And because the camera cannot capture that, people will, I'm sure, will think that we're making it up. That, oh, these guys are just saying they rolled an 8 and then he rolled a 10. Yeah, come on, they're making it up, and we weren't. We literally thought we need to get a closing camera to show people. But my God, so it's quite fun. It's
Yep.
quite fun. And so these are the more technical sides of the game. There are a couple of important IP-driven mechanics in there, which we added, which I think we are very proud of, and people seem to really like in terms of simulating the IP and characterizing the game. Do we have another few minutes to tell you about this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
definitely.
We're
Sure.
35 minutes in, so you've got another just less than an hour.
my throat will die before that. Now, okay, so well, there's two mechanics. One that I have written myself, one that is being written by my co-author, which is Zach Baru. Zach is a guy that worked with River Horse, my company, for many years, and we've written stuff together, particularly the My Little Pony Tales of Equestria RPG. And he's then moved on. He has his own company, writes RPGs of his own device. Please check his Animon game. But basically, Zach is very good at writing simple stuff the way I like, and therefore we work well together. And I asked him to work on this, and so let's begin with his mechanic. So he introduced a mechanic called synthesis conflict, which is kind of informed by Jungian psychology theory, which is so he had to explain to me. I wasn't up to speed with that, but basically, like in Ghost in the Shell, a lot of the characters have internal strife, internal struggle. They have issues that they have to deal with. For example, there's a character called Tugusa, who is the newbie of the team, and he really wants to impress his teammates. He really wants to do well. He wants a career. He wants to become a professional agent.
Yep.
So he has his duty towards the team. On the other end, he just had a child, his first child, with his young wife. So has these two loyalties that often are in conflict. He wants to do the dangerous mission, but will he go home to his wife and his child? What will they do if he doesn't? And he's the breadwinner in the family, so there is this strife that he goes through all the time, this tension. And basically, Zach has designed this as a mechanic where when you design a character, you pick two aspects in conflict and you assign dice values to them, and then throughout the adventure, you can either use it yourself to motivate your character and gives you extra. I'll roll these other dice because I really want to, I want to survive and go back to my wife, and therefore I roll these extra dice. So you can use it, or the GM can actually do the opposite and use it to create tension, dynamic. It's kind of challenge. Things like the opposite of you're about to get out of cover to uncover your friend. However, you freeze because you're thinking of your wife and you promise you will get home tonight and stuff like that. So those things can be used by either, but the more you use them, the more powerful they become, the bigger the dice they start to have as an effect.
Right.
And eventually they will get to the top, to the maximum, which is increased d12, and it will create a crisis. And you either resolve the crisis, you decide with the GM how you're gonna, it's like, all right, I'm gonna tell my boss I'm not gonna do this kind of mission, whatever. So you find a solution for your crisis, and then they count down, but you still have, they increase basically they reduce, the dice are reduced back to a certain level, but that basic level goes up still. So it becomes faster and faster that they get to the crisis level. And eventually they will get to a ultimate crisis, which basically will eventually be probably the reason why your character leaves the team or retires or goes mad, whatever. Yeah. So it will basically end your character at some point. You need to play a lot, of course, to get to that. But there is a development of that kind, which is very Ghost in the Shell. I mean, the Major has that thing between her humanity and the technology. What you were saying before about my brain is piloting this robot body. Is that actually different from my brain piloting a robot made of flesh, which is what you are doing?
Yes.
Your brain is still in a machine, this one is made of metal, that one is made of flesh.
And that's, I guess, the core
Uh,
transhuman question, isn't it?
Yes,
You know,
indeed. What it
yeah,
is to be a human, indeed.
yeah.
So that is that, which is very philosophical, and so that was black. And the one I threw in, which I'm kind of proud of, is the Ghost Whispers.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
the major, if you're familiar with the manga and some of the other material, but mostly the manga, the major keeps particularly at the beginning when he's talking to the newbies, and she says things like, you know, I was listening, you know, my ghost is whispering to me. By ghost, she means her soul, right? Her
Mhm.
spirit. And she goes, and it tells you know, I've decided to do this because my ghost is whispering me to do it. He tells the agents, the new agents, like, you know, you need to learn to listen to your ghost when it whispers to you. And you don't quite know if she means experience, intuition,
Mm.
intelligence, or wisdom, or indeed, if you read the comic several volumes later, I mean, that is like the original manga is 3 big volumes, and so the
Yeah.
3rd volume, you actually realize that there is a disincarnate entity talking to her and engaging with her as she becomes more and more aware of this, and and it turns out that there's a imperial Japanese agent, kind of a channeling agency where these people that have effective psychic powers or kind
Mm.
of disembodied spirits work and act, and one of them is in contact with her. So
Mm.
was she being literal? Was she not aware or partially aware of this thing talking to her? Maybe she read it as her intuition. So there is that mystery
Wow.
thing,
Okay.
which is about advice, is about intuition, is about doing the right thing. And so what I've done is I used that as a currency.
Okay.
I call them ghost whisper points, and GW points, funnily enough. Um, Sounds like a collection of or buy some boxes and get some GW points. But no, so the GW points,
It's
the ghost
okay.
whisper points.
They're not called GW anymore, are they? They've rebranded to
Oh
Warhammer.
yes,
So
of
we're
course,
Yeah.
fine. We're safe.
of course.
I
But
just
yeah,
remember the old stickers you'd get, you know, from White Dwarfs and stuff. Anyway, that's completely off topic, but
yes. Well, it's my fault. But yeah, so these are earned. These are points that you earn for doing cool stuff. You know, if you
Mm.
do things in just not the plain way you could have done them, but in a particularly cool way, exciting way. If people
Mhm.
enjoy your acting, enjoy your role playing, if you do cool stuff, the GM can reward you with, "Oh, well done, great idea. You know, have this some some GW points." Um, and then you spend them. The simplest way to spend them is you can re-roll dice,
Yeah.
modify things, and, you know, upgrade your dice and stuff. But you can also use them to effectively change the plot a bit. Say, for example, you're on the 4th floor of this building, you're in front of a door with a key card.
Mhm.
There's a key card reader, and you're gonna go, oh, did we search the guys that we disable on the 1st floor in the lobby? The guards there. Oh no, we didn't. Oh, and then you go, right, I'll spend a number of Ghost Whisper points, and yes, of course we remembered to search those guys, and
Yes.
suddenly we have a key card here. Yeah, so it is that kind of use as well.
That's really cool. I really like that because I GM many games myself, and the amount of times you wish that people thought about things in the moment and then they're like, oh, we forgot about this, and oh, we've got to either backpedal or do this. Whereas that's a really nice way of just keeping the flow, keeping it going. It's really nice.
Keeping it in character, because the idea
Yeah.
is what's happening there is that this ghost, whether it was your intuition, your experience that told you at the very moment of like remember to search the bodies, you know,
Mhm.
or this agent that indeed was following your adventure knows you need a key and goes search the bodies, you know, in your ear. So you know, it's very characterful with the IP. So pleased with that.
I mean, those sound like a pair of really, really awesome mechanics. I love those sorts of styles of things where it really encourages the players to fall into roleplay, because especially with new people to a
Yeah.
tabletop role-playing game, sometimes they can become disconnected from the idea that they're playing a character. And having a system which is like play into your character to win harder and finish sooner,
Yeah.
that's really awesome. And then having a system which just makes it less ambiguous about whether or not the DMs should let you go, oh no, I totally listened to my ghost and remembered to loot the key card. You know, some DMs are going to be like, no, you guys have got to walk all the way down the stairs, risk all the
Yeah.
time going out. And some DMs will be like, yeah, no, you guys are adventurers. You would have remembered to do that, so you got the key card. Having a system which just sort of bridges that gap and gives a more consistent play experience, I think just makes it easier for pickup games to get started without having to worry about whether or not the kind of style of DMing is going to be as good a fit. It just makes it easier to mesh together as a team, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's been what's happened. Yes. Again, I encourage you to watch that the actual play, because a lot of fun
Okay.
stuff happened like that. Yeah.
Excellent.
And I also think any sort of mechanic that that gives a way to reward role play, gives
Yeah.
a way for the GM to manage that, I always think is really, really important, especially like I've GM'd for new players, and you want to give them stuff to say, yeah, you're doing this right, keep it going, it's awesome, like you're doing it right. And it is just nice to have formal ways to do that in a system where you can really, succeed.
Yeah, it encourages to do stuff. I could just knock down this door with my shoulder. And
Mhm.
hey, no, I'm gonna, take a run and do a flying kick with the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, is encouraging to do spectacular stuff, cool stuff.
So, I mean, with that, we've talked a lot about your new tabletop role-playing game. So it seems only fair, given that this is a channel primarily fitted around war games, although we both love tabletop role-playing games, board games, and war games, that we pivot into the interview section, as if this hasn't been an interview so far, with how different is it, Alessio, when you're going to design a war game compared with a tabletop role-playing game? And heck, let's throw in board game on top of that.
Oh.
I imagine board game is distinctly different.
Yes. Right. So all of them are different, and of course, but I mean, you're saying we're talking about RPGs, and this channel is more about war games. I think what we didn't mention is, of course, that we're making miniatures for Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
There we go.
So yes,
And I know Andrew he's shown me his little he's got a guy, it was done in clear resin. I think it was meant to it had an invisibility power
yes,
or something. So he's got his invisible miniature and he's got his visible miniature, very Frodo in Middle Earth strategy battles.
But also very Ghost in the Shell. Very Ghost in the Shell, because there's the thermo-optical camouflage is what they wear to get invisible. Yeah.
So the process of designing them, how is that different? Is the start different? Is the end different?
Right. So first of all, I would say, and I mean, people may agree or disagree, I would say that war games sit in between the two extremes, which are board games on one side and role play games on the other side. I think war games are something in between, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Sorry, water go. Right. So an RPG is not competitive. An RPG is not competitive, and it's very free. You can change the rules. In fact, if you stick too much to the rules, I think it loses something. It becomes a bit of a more trite experience. I think the GM and the players, the GM that can improvise and change the rules and use the rules as a guideline, but then what matters is cool stuff to happen. I think that's the best GM, not somebody that has to do everything accurately by the rules. And the same players that embrace that and don't, if the GM goes, oh, and this happens, and you go, actually, I think you'll find that my character should is like, no, go with it, run with it, appreciate the story, the flow. So so those rules for me are looser, freer, more not competitive, shouldn't be competitive. I think the moment role play games become competitive between the GM and the character, something is going wrong. Well, on the opposite, a board game, because it's a very tight environment where you have, squares, X's, locations, is all very nice and finite and definite, and the rules can be tighter and more precise and extremely competitive if you want. While war games sit somewhere in between, because you're reenacting a giant battle or a small battle, whatever, a battle, a confrontation in a in a
In a
loose
world.
environment, in an environment that doesn't have the definition of hexes, squares, areas. It's free form. You have terrain that you crafted yourself or bought over, but the terrain is always very different, and the way the miniatures interact with the terrain and the table is always different every time you play. Um, uh, Basically, if you're too precise, if you try to be too precise, war games don't work. From the simple act of measuring. If I get an opponent who's being really, 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 really precise, make a point of, look, mate, this is cannot be that precise. Is that when I go move that miniature 6 inches, and the guy would put his tape measure and move the miniature, I say, no, I said 6 inches, not 6 inches and a micron. That thing. So he's like, it's not a precise environment. It's a more loose environment. So one has to accept that, I think, and that's my opinion after 30 years of writing war games, is that you have to accept that it's not quite as precise. It cannot be quite as precise as a board game. If you want total precision, play chess. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I like chess. I love chess, but it's, don't try to play a war game like you play chess. It's not gonna work.
You're in good company on that opinion.
Yeah,
Especially given the conversation we had while setting everything up today about the latest Old World FAQ,
and about playing to intent and all these things. Yeah, it's nice to hear that that's happening in the design space as well.
When I started my career, I actually didn't think that. I didn't even understand this. I thought that my mission in life was to make perfect wargame rules that were watertight, 100%, always worked, regardless of the terrain, regardless of the type of models you used, and everything. And I tried for many, many years. And the more I tried, the more I thought, actually, the more you get precise and try to what you're doing is you're inviting people to think in a certain way, which is to be that precise, to be that. And on a war game, it doesn't work. People will get angry, will get upset, will have arguments. It will not be a pleasant experience. So, in a way, I went, okay, I think a mature player understands at some point that there has to be what you said before, the contract between the players. There's a degree of, the rules here are written for a building that you can open. This building doesn't open, or vice versa. The rules assume that the building doesn't open, so it's abstract. There is no, you're in this room or that room, so you're in the building. But then this building opens and you can move things around. So the rules don't quite match because of the terrain being done in a completely different way. So that happens all the time. I have to go into this in this wood. Oh, this wood has trees that are glued on the base. So I cannot actually put the models in there, so I have to kind of fudge it a bit. Oh, this other wood instead has trees that are removable, so I can actually move the models perfectly and just remove the trees and put them back. And some people don't have the wood; they just have a piece of cardboard. So, and the rules have to cope with all of that. It's clearly impossible. I think, but you can do a good job making a game that is simple enough that people have fun with it, and most of the time will not argue. I think bolt action, like you play, is a good example. It's not perfect. No war game is perfect, but I think it's a good compromise of playability versus simplicity.
I play quite regularly in a bolt action tournament done in Sheffield through a local gaming school called the Outpost, and we all accept going in that this is not a competitive game, even though we're playing it in a competitive way. And what I mean by that is it's a completely competitive game, but the way the rules are written, they're written to tell a story. And we have such a good time, even though we're in this quote unquote competitive environment, because the silly little stories happen. Like, just because it's a dice game, I've had inexperienced French soldiers with a VB launcher running around the table, refusing to die just because of pure things. And we all joke, oh, they're veterans in disguise. They're secretly, they're shirking off their duties, but they've got caught in this. And when you have a robust system like you talked about, where you accept you can't, not everything is perfect, but it's the best for it, and once you get that social contract, that's when you get those really fun, memorable games. And it's why, as I say, it's probably the system I play most of at the moment is bolt action, because I know no matter who I play, I'm gonna have a good time, a good laugh, and we're gonna tell an interesting story.
And that story is indeed what matters. And that story is why I say that I think now that war games are in between an RPG and a board game. It requires that contract that you have in RPGs, which are purest. That's pure imagination. Wargaming has rules and competitiveness, but has to have a little assumption of okay, we will need to roll a dice. There will be the situation where we go, is 50% of this squad in cover? Well, it depends if these models are modeled standing or lying down, etc. So there will be always a situation where you're not 100% sure whether the squad is 50% in cover or not, and you will have to roll a dice
What are you talking about?
As long as you have.
Everybody knows that little Timmy went to war in World War One in a perpetual, or two, in a perpetual state of combat crawling. Right? He's not lying down. That's how he moves. There's a reason he got drafted. He couldn't outrun the officers.
Touching on because we've naturally touched on bolt action a little bit. How is it different? Like starting from scratch, writing your own brand new system, as opposed to writing a new edition for one. Like, is there any major changes in the workflow? Is it necessarily easier or harder?
Oh, it's very different. Very, very, very different. Oh yes, they have advantages and disadvantages. I mean, I've done both for 30 years of doing this kind of job. So a new game, my approach is always to ask a billion questions to the customer, to whoever is the client, whoever is hiring me to write this game. Because often people don't really have a clear idea of what they want. They kind of have a fuzzy idea. Well, I think I want a niche game about, I don't know, World War II kind of thing. And then I would go, right, how many players? How long does it last? How many miniatures do you think each player should have? Roughly, of course. How many units should each player have? And how many, pieces? Does he have dice? Does he not have dice? So does he have tape measure? Does he have sticks? Does he have... I will continue for hours. How long does it need to last? How many scenarios? It is competitive. So how many factions does it have? So there's a series of like a briefing period where I first need to understand what it is. Then you think, try many different solutions to fulfill the brief that you have agreed with your commitment. And then you kind of do various iterations of versions of the game. You write a version once it is agreed that your initial design meets the brief, and then you play test it and get feedback, and then at some point you stop play testing, input the feedback, create a new version, start again, and repeat and repeat and repeat it. So it's an iterative process that at some point some manager will say, enough, you don't have any more time, it needs to go it needs to go to print. So that's a new game. An existing game that you have to write a new edition for, of which I definitely do tons of it. Perhaps that's the thing I've done the most in my life, because I've done that on 40K, I've done that on Warhammer Fantasy Battle, I've done that on several iterations of the Lord of the Rings rules, I've done that on Kings of War. Now we are 4th edition Kings of War.
Yes.
We are now on 3rd edition Bolt Action. So yes, I think I made a bit of a career defining thing there. So new edition. Likewise, I think you need to understand first what the new edition is trying to achieve for the company that is doing it. Why are we doing this? Is it to change the way people pick their armies? Is it to refresh collections? Is it to retire books and restart? What are we trying to do here? And the thing I've learned for the years is that you will always get it wrong, in the sense that there will always be somebody. There will always be somebody that will think this is the worst thing ever, all the time, regardless of what you do. You could do nothing, and people will say, "Oh, it's boring. They never do that. Oh, we want something new. We want." And if you do it, then it's like, "Oh, why did I change it? Oh, I prefer the one before. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna boycott the new edition." And sometimes you manage to do something like we did like third edition bolt action last year, which is incredible. As in, on the third edition, there was initially a big negative reaction about the introduction of cover saves. Oh my god, cover saves at the end of the world, it's terrible. And we said, no, look, we play tested it for a year. We've done it, and we're convinced it makes the game better. I am 100% convinced. But still, you're nervous because you think, what if I'm so wrong? And I'm just, oh my god, have I broken this thing? Have I, destroyed this company, and all these people will lose their jobs because of me?
I think that's you being a warrior coming out a little bit.
That's it. That's exactly it. And then luckily, a lot of people, what you say is late, because a lot of
Yeah.
people in the current environment on the internet would just judge things without even reading them, let alone playing them. So,
Yeah.
which is bizarre. No, the feedback is always play some games, then judge it. And funnily enough, I would say a big chunk, I'm gonna throw there 90% of people that have actually tried it, then have come back to us saying, you know what? Actually, I played it and I like it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And third edition is growing a lot, which is fairly
Yes.
rare. It's fairly rare for a game. Normally, editions tend to shrink a bit in terms of it is rare that an edition makes the game grow so much. But we managed that, which is great.
Well, we're just going back to the regular tournament I attend. I think we started with 12 players. The last one I think was 13 tables, so 26. So, and they're looking at growing. Oh, I can't go to the next one, but I'm going to the one after, and they're looking at continually growing it from there. So, like, there's a big community growing in Sheffield, which is doing really well. And we just see more and more people getting into the game because bolt action as a system is very different from a lot of the others in the space with the order dice and everything, which is just brilliant. And I just think it's a very enjoyable system. I think it's one where people can have a lot of fun with it, and it's incredibly lethal in certain ways, which makes it also incredibly fun because it is very tied to those dice and it's very tied to what happens, and it just tells a story.
Well, that I guess is my penchant for simplification, where I remember the close combat thing and the morale is like,
Yeah.
so can a unit break and then you have to run away and then you rally and you come back, and I was like, yeah, but that begs all the questions of in which direction do they run? How does it
Yeah.
work? Do they run away from the thing that's yes, but what if that's towards an enemy? Oh well, then you different direction. But what if that is like how about if your morale breaks, you remove them?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a bit brutal. I was like, yes, but these guys, I'm sure they're not all dead. Some of them are running away, taking prisoners. Some of them will run away from being prisoners. Some of them will regroup in the back and reform the unit and come back, but not in the next 6 turns.
Yeah.
So for these 6 turns, which represent what, an hour of real time, then for this hour, that unit is no longer operational, is no longer able to do anything as far as this game is concerned. I'm sure they're all okay, or some of them are. But so it was that brutal, don't care when and if they rally tomorrow, tonight, last night. Yeah, no. As far as this firefight, they're gone.
Yeah. And like, I love the brutality with the tanks and any vehicles. It just represents that, yeah, that one lucky shot can just knock you out, and it completely changes the game plan and completely changes what then happens.
Oh, that is fairly historically accurate in the sense that one penetration, a high velocity thing getting into a tank, the crew is not gonna like that. So yes, that's sadly it's a reality of warfare.
And I do think it's got a real. I know we've just diverted to talk about ball action, but last thing I just want to say is I think it's got a real tactical complexity for having the dice bag system for picking order of units. The amount of times I can count in games where it's like I need to activate this one thing, and then I don't get a dice for ages, but somehow that one thing survives. And it's like, well, I don't need to worry about them now because everything that's going to shot at them, I'm going to now go to this other side of the board and deal with that, and I'll come back to them later. And it just makes it such an interactive and fun game.
Yes, the drawing mechanic has 2 big things. One is very exciting. It's cinematic because when you start the turn and you have the tanks that take a shot, didn't penetrate, but now which of the two tanks will shoot next, or will the sniper shoot at the guy before he dives into cover, that kind of thing. So that's very. You can imagine the crews reloading the tank frantically, or reloading the gun frantically to fire. But as the tank commander goes, reload, reload, reload. As the turret traverses towards you, the tiger is rotating the turret towards you. You go, reload, reload, shoot now. Yeah, before he shoots at that kind of thing. So it has that very exciting thing. But also what you were talking about, the tactical element, is because it mixes the urgency with importance. So the idea is I have a dice. Okay, I've drawn the dice. The biggest threat is that one there. However, that's already gone this turn. So I don't need to deal with it right now. I have the right tool. I have a bazooka that can take that in the flank, but that tank is already gone. So I don't need to do that right now. What's the next urgent thing? Oh, this is a scary thing. However, it has got a couple of pin markers on it. So it may not actually, the chances of activating are not very high, 50-50. While that thing over there, which is not, it would be my third scariest thing, but doesn't have a pin marker on, that will activate. So if my opponent activates that, and you have to go, which one do I shoot? Which of the three things is more urgent to do right now? There is that. Certainly a lot of interesting thinking there, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, while we're on the sort of topic of the dice bag and pulling, Matt from Mini Wargaming has a video where he talks a bit about his design of Ravage Star and trying to work out whether an I go, you go system would be the better approach or an alternating activation system. And in that video, I'll probably put it in the link in the description below for people to check out if they're interested. He goes over a number of things which he sees as being upsides and downsides of these different styles of alternating activation, be that everything in a bag, or Star Wars Legion has a sort of a variant on everything in a bag where you can preset things to not be in the bag, so you can choose to either go into the bag or go to the thing. And then you get all the way up to things like, obviously, like Warhammer, where the whole army goes, the other whole army goes. What do you view as being the relative strengths and weaknesses of those different activation systems? Do they have sort of thresholds where one stops working, the other starts working? What do you think about it as a game designer when you're going towards those sorts of
it's
mechanics?
a difficult question, and I'm sure that the people have different opinions on this. I think that it kind of depends on the story, on also the type of battle you're trying to depict. For example, I think in ancients or fantasy, rank and flank type things like Kings of War, I think the alternating activation thing feels strangely bitty because you kind of imagine in your head the whole battle line moving together, right? Which perhaps is not historically accurate, but that's the way you've seen it in movies. Things.
Yeah.
So in your head, there is the army is advancing. The archers on the hill are firing their arrows in these huge clouds. Again, all very cinematic, perhaps not realistic, but so I think the I go you go works better for rank and flank than an alternating activation, while for me, a more modern or sci-fi setting where you have, the fog of war and units shooting at each other and moving around on vehicles, and so that there's a lot of stuff happening and it's not linear. It is a bit more fragmented. I think that leads itself more to the to the random activation or alternating activation. So a more segmented way of activating. But I have to be honest, I don't think there's a right and wrong answer here. I think is different type of games work differently for different people. And yeah, I would say the thing you're portraying should dictate that. And indeed, when we did the War 4th edition, we did go, should we go alternative activation? We tried it a bit and we're like, this rank and flank thing, meh. We ultimately decided to leave it as I go, I do the entire thing and then you do basically as it was. Also, King's of War has the design, the unique selling point of you can play with a chess clock. And therefore it was also a part of it keeping that. And we decided to stay with that. But I say it the third time, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to answer the question.
But your approach is you're going to look for the theme of or the narrative of the game that you're trying to create, and then
Yes.
that's going to inform rather than this is
Yes.
my preference. I prefer to design this way as opposed to that way.
Yeah, I think you can use that tool, either one for the situation. Yes.
Sorry, I went off the script. Obviously, I gave you a list of questions we were going to ask, and then
It's
I've just
okay.
like hard question curveballed you out of nowhere. I think we do one more of these questions, Ian, and then we'll move over to the news. So I'll let you take the pick.
Well, we've kind of done the middle two, haven't we? Because we talked about beginning, how do you start with the game, and we've also talked about, design for existing worlds. So I think it's that last one there. So what do you look for in a game as a player? We kind of touched on this briefly, talk about board games, but what sort of thing do you look for, as a player rather than as a designer?
Are we speaking war games or are we speaking more generically?
Let's go with war games, and then we can do
yeah.
a touch on more generically if you fancy.
War games. I am old. I have almost, I will be 55 at some point. So what I look forward in a game is a very, very short set of rules. Something really simple. Basically, the Holy Grail in my case changed from a game where the rules are perfect, a war game where the rules are perfect, to a war game where you don't think of the rules. The rules are so simple that you're thinking of the game, not the rules. So something that instead of thinking, "Oh, I wonder how this works. How does this unit move?" And then I just go, "No. Should I do this plan A and then he does that and I do that to counter that, or should I go with my cavalry on this wing, or is it better if I keep them in reserve and then so when his infantry comes, then it's a bit easier to outflank them." That kind of thinking. I'm trying a game where the rules disappear and you don't think of the rules, but you think of the game. The simplest example would be chess. You don't think, "Oh, I wonder how a bishop moves or what I cannot do." No. You're thinking about your move. And I think that's what I like. Basically, what I look for is a very simple system of rules. Very simple.
Fair enough.
Simplicity.
Do you play your own games, or is that too close to home?
Well, I tend not to, because again, it feels a bit like work.
Sure.
I think the only one that I actually played a bit for fun and occasionally still do is Bolt Action. Because I find that the drawing mechanic really exciting. But and I used to go to tournaments for Bolt Action until kind of last year. Unfortunately, I'm getting old again, and I find that one game is enough for my back. When I start to go second game, I start to ache. By the third game, I'm in pain. I'm really in pain. So I gotta go. Oh God, I can't. I have the problem. I'm very tall as well. So standing, reaching out outside of my center of gravity all the time is. It's hence why I play golf instead of going to tournament.
No, that's fair. I'm 6'4" myself, so I can recognise the problems where after a long tournament. Just going back, touching on your answer, I do again not wishing to butt you up too much, but I do feel like you've achieved that with Bolt Action. It's a game that once you've played your first couple of games, you're right, you don't have to think about the rules. The only time a rule comes up when I've been at the tournaments recently is it's a very obscure edge case of how does this thing interact with this thing, and it's like, yeah, none of us have had to deal with that before. Let's three of us look this up and try and hash it out.
Yes,
But
it's a war
the
game.
base the base of the game, you're just like, yeah, I know exactly what this is, and I think it's a real strength and a selling point. It's like a rifle is a rifle, so it's the same for everyone. So everyone knows what everyone's weapon does. It's really nice.
Yeah. There is a big advantage in that. Yes.
Yeah, huge advantage.
I'm sat here as the weirdo who can look at Warhammer models and go, no, I know what those stats are. I haven't seen them. I know what they are. So, you're like, a rule system which is really light and easy to understand, and I'm just like, I intuit Warhammer for some reason. It's probably a childhood spent sat there going, like, I've read The Hobbit 7 times. now I've got my first Warhammer Fantasy Battles rulebook, and I'm going to read this 20 times. Right then, let's get into the news, as we have been chatting now for an hour and 15 minutes, and it is not fair for us to take too much more time. So, starting off with the news that we've alluded to already, the new Old World FAQ has come out with its lack of errata changes, I presume, so that the new rulebook that's coming out as just a reprint with the erratas doesn't get changed before it's out. It's well worth going to have a read if you're into Old World, because there are some confusing nuances within the FAQ section, especially around how regeneration saves are working at the minute.
It's not exactly the most clear thing in the world. We've been talking about it for the past 2 days. We think we know what it says, but then we look online and online disagrees with us. So
God, if only we had a game designer here to settle the score once and for all. Alessio, if you had a special rule which said that when you cause an unsaved wound, it instead does a multiple number of wounds, do you suffer those wounds simultaneously or sequentially, one after the other?
So it's like a leading question. Why does that matter?
And why is the answer simultaneously, so you still get to use a regeneration save?
Okay, so what the regeneration save in this version of the rules?
Frankly, I think the whole conversation's too heavy to be here for 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Brings back memories in my case. I used to do the FAQs and erratas for Warhammer like I do now for the other systems. So yeah.
I do want to say, if you are a fan of classic fantasy, Old World is a great place to be.
It can be broken. You can break it if you really stress things that far out. You know, Chaos Lord with jammed up with all the saves, riding a Chaos Dragon is very powerful. And I mean, I've been told that. I've only played against it once, and I happened to fluke a 6 on a Monster Slayer sword and kill it in a single hit. So, you know, I can't attest to it being all that good. But I tend to find that when you approach the game from, you know, my army is the High Elves that defend Safri. They're just regular militia, sword masters, and a couple of wizards. It suddenly starts to play really, really well when you go up against another fluffy list that's been made sort of, I guess, in the spirit of the game. So
it's like we've been talking about all day. It's that social contract. It can happen before the game, it can happen during the game, but it's the that understanding of like, yeah, let's make fun, interesting armies that fit a narrative, and then we'll see what happens, as opposed to I must win at all costs.
Yeah, that's pretty whack.
And I would say there is no right and wrong here either. If like a group of like-minded people that must win at all costs meet and have a tournament, and it's all very clear that is that kind of cutthroat, everything goes, and it is accepted, that's fine. They will enjoy it in their own way.
No, you will.
I used to be like that. I definitely had the eye of the tiger when I was young.
I would say that's the incorrect way to play, but next week we've got Tom Carley, vice captain of Team England, coming on for Old World, so you know there's a very strong competitive element that's going on next week.
Absolutely,
and he's agreed to sponsor us, so let's say they're good guys, and I'm going to push my inner thoughts deep down.
I did win quite a lot of tournaments in my old days. So you're talking to a tournament player. Well, I suppose a reformed tournament player.
Yeah, well, I'm the sort of person who goes to a tournament still with the primary thing of just like, I just want to have a good time, which is why in our local ball action scene I'm known as the French player, even though I've only brought them to one tournament. But they were like, you had a 2C and you had all these things, and it's like, and it's stuck in everyone's memory. So
it's
great fun.
I used to play for fun, but fun was to crush my enemies, drive them before me, and listen to the lamentation of their women. So, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Mentioning ball action leads on really nicely to the next bit of news, actually, with the armies.
There was one more bit
Oh,
of
sorry.
Games Workshop news, which is brand
Sorry,
new
go.
as of today. Games Workshop has announced there is a new novel coming out in as a follow-up to The Infinite and the Divine. So if you are a fan of Necrons
Yes.
and a particularly big fan of the will they, won't they, hatred, romance dynamic of Oricon the Diviner and Trazyn the Infinite, I'm on Camp Trazyn. I don't really care for Oricon at all. I just think Trazyn's really cool. We got a new novel coming out in the future, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
It's also been written by Robert Rath, who has written some absolutely fantastic stuff recently. So definitely one to keep an eye out for.
Bolt action then. Go ahead, Ian.
Yes. So talking about France, Armies of France is the next book on the horizon. I'm very
Wow.
personally very excited for it.
I've never seen the cover until this very moment.
Really? This was helpful. Like, one thing that I do love about Bolt Action is Osprey Publishing love to leak the covers really early and put them online. So that's Armies of France, which is incoming. It's going to be very much like the Italy army book, where there's multiple ways to run them. So they've announced you can run them as Vichy, you can run them as early war French, you can run them as the liberated forces. So that's going to be really fun, really interesting. So much fun and interest to have in that book. And then there's also announced earlier this week, last week, Armies of Europe, which is going to fold in all the minor nations into one book and partisans. There's not much news on that so far, but I'm excited for that as well.
I can tell you exactly what armies are in that book. we
If
did
you're
say
allowed.
publicly.
Yes, you did say in the article.
Yeah, no, we did say in the article. We did say at the opening of the grand opening of the store in Wigan. So no, it is common knowledge.
Is there something which isn't quite common knowledge but is in the public domain that you could give us as a little sneak peek?
Well, let me think. So there's armies of Belgium, armies of Finland, armies of Hungary and Poland, and of course the partisans. Those are the five. A sneak peek. Oh God, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay. Will it be good?
Certainly, we try to do a bit of the treatment that we've done for all the armies. In Armies of France, like you were saying, you can take your. Actually, no, it's not what you're saying. Armies of France has the appendixes with the Vichy and the Free French, but also in the main list, the Republican list, you can take your army with slightly different flavors, like we've done with all the books. So you can have Chasseurs Alpins, so your mountain troops. You can make your army Dragon Porté, as in your armored infantry, so to speak, and you can make them Foreign Legion as well, which is good. And we tried the little exclusive is that we try to do something similar for all of the Belgium, Poland, England, and Hungary. So you can change slightly the things. So with the things you can have an all Calco party. No, maybe not Calco party, but all sissy army. All kind of stealthy, infiltratey guys, etc.
One thing that I've read in the article that I'm really excited for is the different flavors of partisan. So Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Balkans. I think I've always wanted a partisan army, and for danger of starting my 5th bolt action army, I think I might have to with options like that, because it lends some really interesting stuff. Sorry,
I'm afraid they're partisan armies, not a partisan. Sorry,
but yeah, just I think that I'm excited for. I think that's going to be really, really cool. And as you say, with Bolt Action, it's still growing. There's still books to come, and it's just going to be really interesting to keep following and keep seeing what happens.
Excellent. What else have we got? Star Wars Legion has got its Mandalorian release come out. They've put out some more information about the Clan Ren. So if you are a fan of Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, you'll be familiar with the idea of Clan Ren being a major player on Mandalore, and Sabine Wren obviously carrying the Darksaber. Should be really cool to have a character who I'd be interesting to see. I suppose I haven't looked at the cards. I think they did announce them, whether or not she will have Jedi Force user skills like she gets towards the end of the Ahsoka series, or whether they're going to be keeping her in that sort of like punk rock rebel bounty hunter vibe. So that's definitely worth going to take a look at in some more detail. Trench Crusade has a box coming out called Carcass Front. Trench Crusade is made by Tuomas, who I believe you have some sort of relationship with.
Yeah, we're friends. Oh, yeah.
Your friends. I was told you wouldn't have a nice thing to say about it.
Sorry?
Yeah, the people who was chatting to me said that you guys have a romance rivalry, I think it was, and that you wouldn't say anything nice about him, but it was out of love.
No, they think they got it completely wrong. We're mates. I really like Thomas. I like to think he likes me. We always meet at every event, every convention. We always meet and chat, and we spend a lot of time both in just recently in Paris at l'Univers Paris, and in Bologna at Play Bologna in Italy. We went out dinners and stuff, and we have a lot. We used to actually go out together, and when he was in Nottingham, it was good for Games Workshop. Our wives are friends, and no, very. I would say I call him a friend. We're friends, and we. I mean, we often talk about me working on Trench Crusade, and like, oh, even me. There's always a subtle. But I was like, sorry, I really wish I could, but I really have no time. There is so much other stuff I'm doing. But the moment I have some, I have some need of work, I'll be coming there going, hello. I like it. But no, very good, to be honest.
And it's all plastics, and hopefully it's building for really big things in the future. I don't play Trench Crusade myself, but I know quite a few people who do, and who get a huge amount of enjoyment from the new setting. And just to see it growing now into plastic miniatures and things like this is just, I think, good for the field of games.
Yeah,
I'm a big proponent that I want to walk into a friendly local gaming store and see as many different games being played as possible. I think that's healthy for the community rather than it being dominated by one company.
I don't have anything to say about Trench Crusade because I'll be honest, I've realized I forgot to look at what was in this box. Ian says it's new plastics. New plastics in the Trench Crusade box. It's called Carcass Front. Look it up. And then a little thing that's going to make our friend Andre, friend of the channel, who has been playing the Black Templars, a little bit of Guard, and hopefully he'll be on to do some old world narrative games, either with his ogres or his lizard men, is Malifaux. He's a big fan of Malifaux, and they've released a narrative play or campaign play supplement to help you run that style of gaming within the Malifaux space. Now, last time we got together for this meeting, our guest expressed an interest in Mordheim news, and I said that I had reached out and found that there was nothing that we could find out going on in terms of new Mordheim news, but we have a former Mordheim writer with us today. So, Alessio, did you get the deep dive like we asked?
Yes, the Skaven are certainly taking over Mordheim and killing all the humans, and every other race is going to be Skavenheim. Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm 100% sure. I'm not making it all up right now. Absolutely, yes.
You heard it here, folks. Mordheim 2nd edition, Return to Skavendom, is announced.
Skaven everywhere. You can play as the Skaven, or the Skaven.
I mean, I'd be down for that, but I've got several thousand points of Skaven literally behind my head.
And how many little Clan Eshin guys do you have from the old Mordheim kits in your armies?
Surprising amount. People just keep giving me Skaven.
And I don't understand why. How many of them have killed a manticore in Stand and Shoot by flinging stones at it?
Oh, don't remind me. I still feel guilty about that.
Well, that brings us to the end of today. Thank you very much, Alessio. I know we've gone a couple of minutes over what we said it might. Thanks for sticking with us. It's been an absolutely fantastic conversation to have with you. Thanks, Ian.
It's been a real deep dive and window into the world of game design. It's been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
So-
much. It was good fun. It went quickly, so it
Yeah,
must be
that's
fun.
good.
Yeah.
When-
Well, we're about to hit 1 hour and 30 minutes on the dot. So before we get there, I'll say thanks very much for joining us. Thanks everyone at home who has stuck around till now. If you want to see somebody on one of these interview discussion chat panels, throw a name down in the box down below, and I'll see if I can reach out through the bizarrely linked web of connections I'm starting to develop now to see if we can get them on and talk about something at the very least interesting to them, if not the rest of us. But it's been incredibly interesting for me today chatting to you, Alessio, and thanks ever so much. And hopefully I'll see you again in person in the future. Maybe we can
sure.
go down to Warlord Games and play some stuff there. Otherwise, it's bye from me. It's bye from Ian. Bye from Alessio.
And
We'll
bye.
catch up with you
Bye-bye.
next time. Today we are working in partnership not only with UK Resin Prints, the home of high quality resin 3D printing in the UK, but also with Alessio Cavatore, in celebration of his work on Mantic Games' upcoming tabletop role-playing game, Ghost in the Shell. Follow early to get cool merch, including a free bookmark and sample rules immediately just by following, or hardback dust jackets and PDF rules if you reserve or back the game so you can get to playing as soon as possible. Find links to both of our sponsors and partners in the description of the video down below.